All right, Andy. Want to get started?
Yeah, hey everybody. Welcome to our first Ask Us Anything. To get us started, I'm Andy Cormier. I'm the Partner Development Director. I'm coming to you all from McKinney, Texas today, and I've got Ian on with me. Ian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, folks. Ian Alexander, co-founder and channel chief at Syncro. Happy to hang out with you.
So just so everybody knows what this program is, we used to have a program called Open Office Hours. Syncro partners would basically come on, ask whatever questions they wanted about the platform. We stopped that program a while back. Ever since, we've heard so many requests from folks saying, please bring us that program or some program like it back. So we've created this program called Ask Us Anything, which is along those same lines. But we're going to be opening it up to questions about anything. So Syncro specifically, you're burning MSP questions, platform questions, competition questions, whatever you all want, just throw your questions into the Q&A and we'll be answering them throughout the hour. And then fair warning, we're also doing some fancy live streaming with Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we've never tried that before, so please bear with us. We think it's going well. We'll let you know at the end of this how it went. And before we get started, while you guys are queuing up some questions, I did want to talk about two pieces of Syncro news we wanted to share with everybody. First is our new partnership with Acronis. We launched that a few weeks back. It is now in full swing here at Syncro. For anyone interested, you can see full pricing and details in the app card in our app center. We have very aggressive pricing. There's no minimums. There's no time commits. Initially, we started with our US partners. Last week, we opened it up to our Canadian partners. And then today, I'm happy to announce that we're officially launching it for our UK partners as well. We are also looking to bring this on in Australia and New Zealand, probably sometime in Q1 of next year. So for folks in those regions, stay tuned. We've also got a promotion going on until the end of the month. For anybody that spins up 5 or more agent deployments of Acronis in a production state, by the end of the month, you're going to get a blanket 10% discount on not just the SKUs that you've purchased up to that point, but on any new SKUs that you've purchased between now and the end of 2023. Because of the pricing and the promotion on top of that, we've got a ton of questions about migrations. So yes, you can migrate your instance from any vendor, including Acronis Direct, to save money with Syncro, so long as you're currently not under contract with that vendor. Process takes a couple days. There's no changes to your Acronis instance other than the parent billing now going through Syncro. So for anybody interested in either migrating their existing Acronis instance or creating a new one with Syncro, please reach out. It's sales@syncromsp.com, and they'll get you migrated and or a new instance provisioned. Second thing I want to talk about quick is our community script library. As many of you know, we have an excellent community script library where you can basically go in and import scripts that other Syncro partners have submitted. However, we haven't done a particularly good job of approving scripts there in a regular cadence. So that's about to change. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be processing everything that's been submitted, that's been sitting in the queue, and there's quite a few of them. After that, we're going to be regularly approving scripts in a cadence of approximately twice a month. That should be the cadence that you all can expect from here on out. Now, eventually, we're going to be looking at adding additional functionality to the library, but this is not that. This is basically getting this machinery moving again. So we'll be letting folks know over the next couple of weeks when that's firing on all cylinders again, but that is coming, so stay tuned. So now on to your questions.
First, I just want to say we are so happy to be doing this again. For those of you who are newer to the Syncro ecosystem, we used to have this thing called Open Office Hours. It was structured very similar to this, and it was a favorite of the partner base. And for lots of reasons, we needed to stop doing it for a little bit, and now we're back on with a new V2 of that. This Ask Us Anything that Andy's going to be hosting, and I'll regularly be joining him, but he will also have various other guests. And we are happy to be doing it again and hanging out with you guys. And you want to talk about just in general, like what they can ask and what's fair game, etc.
Yeah, so basically anything's fair game. We definitely want to keep the the notion of you coming in here and asking whatever Syncro platform questions that you had. We can walk you through that, and we'll definitely have on other guests from support, sales, and different areas of the company to talk about that. But also, this is expanding it to business questions. Ian's got a lot of experience in the space. I have a ton of experience in the space. And we definitely like to get a lot more questions involving, how can I make more money in my business? How can I structure things better? When is a good time to do X, Y, Z? What's the best way to negotiate contracts? All of those types of questions as well, we would love to engage our users with. That's something that once we started doing that, we've gotten so many things privately that now it really felt like we need to take this into a program like this one to ask.
Oh, and also in terms of the scheduling of these, this is obviously the first one, but what we're going to do, we used to do them every Friday, which didn't make as much sense because we had other things we would be doing, right? We'd have other webinars we'd be hosting, and there'd just be a lot of overlap. So what we're doing with this is there will always be one scheduled. So you can go to any of the communities, the Facebook group or the Syncro subreddit or the official community forums, and there will be a sticky at the top where you can always sign up for the next one. So right after this, we'll post a new post in those 3 communities saying the next Ask Us Anything is at this date, this time, here's the registration link. So you can always know when the next one is going to be. They'll probably be roughly every like 2-3 weeks-ish. Okay, go ahead, Andy.
I'm gonna run through a couple of questions we've got here in the queue. First one from Benoit. When will Acronis be available in Europe? Benoit, if you want to let me know specifically what country you're talking about, we are launching in the UK today. Other countries, I don't have an exact time frame for outside of Australia and New Zealand. So if you want to ask another question, or just let me know specifically what country, I can let you know.
He says France.
Okay. Actually, that may come sooner rather than later because it is linked up. I know in the UK instance we spun up today, there is an option for a French data center. So I would suspect that that'll be sooner rather than later. I don't have an exact date for you, but it won't be a long time away. Martin's asking about cyber drain scripts. So we do have those, Martin. We add about 4 or 5 new scripts from CyberDrain every single month. If you do have requests, we do have a forum, a category in our community forums where you can request things, and we will send those over to CyberDrain by popular demand. So yeah, check out the community forum there and submit your requests there. James, it's a platform question. He's saying, is there any way to have a second user notified when a ticket is created? I just want the client liaison to get notified when an end user creates a ticket. James, I assume you're talking about a person, a contact at the specific customer getting a ticket. And yes, there is an option called direct report, and it's under contacts. And what it will do is it will basically automatically CC anybody that is set as that direct report. So like if you have employees opening tickets and they need to have their operations manager, their district staff member, whatever it is, notified on all those tickets, that's specifically what that's for. In fact, Ian, if you want to take the next question, I can throw that up in the screen here in a second.
Yeah, I just want to add, there's also in the notification sets, you can add additional emails to notify. So if you wanted to notify any email about a new ticket created, it's not specific to a particular customer. So in case you were talking about somebody internal, you could do that as well.
Yeah, if it is externally for your customer, this is on a contact record. You have this direct report, so you can set up, and this is just some garbage data in here, but you can set up whoever you need, and then whoever's in this, anytime this contact opens a ticket, they'll automatically be notified on new tickets and comments and things like that. Anonymous is saying, first, thank you for bringing this back. Do you have any suggestions on prospecting? If I go door to door, most prospects either have another MSP or are too cheap to want one. I've thought about offering a third-party audit, and I'm worried about upsetting the other MSPs in the area. So, okay, I'm gonna give you my answer, and keep in mind that I'm a little less friendly as far as business is concerned. I would be much less concerned about upsetting another MSP and be more concerned with your bottom line. Basically, what you said is exactly true. If they're too cheap, they're not going to have an MSP at all. If they have an MSP, the only way to win the business is to boot the MSP and basically take their place. So I would never feel bad about displacing another MSP so long as you believe that you're going to do a better job than they are, or the same level of job at a better price. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that at all specifically. In terms of prospecting, there's a couple tips I could give. Door to door, a lot of people hear that and they immediately check out. And for anyone that's done it, it's obviously you're going to get a lot of doors closed in your face, but it works. That's why people do it. Cold calling is another thing people don't like doing, but it works, which again is why people do it. The other thing you can try is there's some very interesting ways to get into businesses that a lot of folks wouldn't expect. One thing that we tried that worked very well for my MSP was we marketed in platforms like Nextdoor, if you're familiar with that, or we got in with local papers that were targeting like wealthy senior communities on the residential side. I know a lot of MSPs don't like residential, but we would go in and basically the contacts that you make there always had contacts in business. And I'd say almost a third of our contract referral business came from doing that kind of outreach. So a lot of times you can kind of end around and find contacts at businesses through a residential base, which is another interesting way to do that.
Let's take some Facebook questions because we're live on Facebook also. Yes, we can see your questions and comments. So let's see here. Updated UI. When will we see a more unified interface instead of pages looking different? Like yep. More standardization, like alphabetizing drop-down lists. So yeah, we have, so I mentioned this a couple months ago, but we had some new folks join the team who specialize in UI UX. They took a little bit to just kind of get up to speed, understand the platform, etc. They have now built out all kinds of cool mock-ups. There's actually some kind of user testing going on where they're getting feedback from MSPs about some of the designs. We're starting with some projects like an updated navigation. But there are a lot of different opportunities there. I think you'll see over the course of the next year a lot of UI UX work happening. It's not going to be like someday where we just drop all of it. It'll be a progressive or iterative process where we release improvements over time. And we'll probably be working on the most used pages first and things like the navigation, which affect every page. So yes, you will start to see that stuff, maybe even in Q4.
Yeah, and just as a note to that, if y'all, I mean, now that you guys know that this is something that we are actively looking towards doing, definitely start putting your feature requests around UI UX stuff in the community forum for sure. And sorry, everybody on Facebook, it doesn't show us the name of who's asking the question, so you'll all be anonymous to us. Someone's asking about the ability to build a price quote that hasn't been approved or paid for, much like parts pending for builds. If you want to ask that question again, I mean, we have an estimates module that specifically does that. It's for sending out, it does have like an approval mechanism in there as well. So you should be able to build out what you need. Yeah, you're talking about like network builds with 20 cameras and switches and things. That should all be part of the estimates module. So you should be able to do that today. Another user asking for a light version of a CRM aspect for Syncro MSP. I wish I knew who you are because you're my favorite, because Ian's probably sick of me bringing up CRM anything at this point, but I'm a huge proponent of that. Definitely understand the value of it, and that's something that we will be looking at in the future. Have no ETA on stuff like that, but I do definitely understand opportunity tracking, cold customer tracking, things like that. Definitely agree with you on that one. Let's see what else we got here on Facebook. Can we track the customer when we use integrated screen connect as remotes like it does with Splashtop makes a connection? This would help for end of month reports. Okay, so for any of the third-party integrations, so folks know you can bring your TeamViewer, Screen Connect, or Splashtop, bring your own instance of it. It'll show up in the UI. It's a one-click connection for remote access. It will show when you connected, that shows up on the asset activity, which will also show up on the asset audit reports. It will not show when that disconnected. We don't have a way to get webhooks or anything when it's not in our platform. If you're using Splashtop RMM, which is our native version of Splashtop, which included for everybody for free, that will log the start time, the end time. It will show your total connection time. So that is a little bit nicer for reporting. So that's how that works for the BYO stuff. Ian, I don't know if we want to tag team this one. Brian's asking, where do we see Syncro in 3 to 5 years, and what's the most important as far as changes and improvements that we see?
Yeah, hard question. The market changes pretty quick. I would, let me deflect for a little bit and just talk about what I think we should do for the next year. Because that's a lot more important to me right now. I think we need to work on a lot of like platform reliability, consistency, etc. And then so for me, that's some of the, some of the issues we've been talking about over the last couple of months with like the invoices working, the recurring scripts, etc. Online, offline alerts, QuickBooks and ZeroSync working properly, right? So I think there's like some of that stuff that's kind of table stakes. I think the UI UX is almost similar, like you expect the product to work a particular way, and it should, but it's doesn't. So modernizing the UI UX is, I think, another theme there. And then I think just making sure that people are able to use the whole platform, right? So that invoices work properly, that you have the right payment processors available to you. There's a lot of ways we can enhance the usage of the entire platform. Because part of the power here is that Syncro has the RMM and the PSA and the remote access all in one package, and it's seamless. So you should be able to fully utilize the system. So I think there's a lot of improvements we can make so that folks feel like they are fully utilizing the system. I know that's a kind of a high level answer, but there's a lot of sub points to that. So that's a lot of what I see us focusing on.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I think it's a lot. Syncro started in 2017 because of the repair shop or Kabuto roots. It was a lot of startup MSPs initially. Now a lot of startup MSPs are no longer startup MSPs, and they're getting to the next level in their MSP journey. And now, because of all the improvements that we've done over the past 2 years and major feature releases, we're having a lot of larger folks hop onto the platform as well. So a lot of the things that I see are largely in the PSA, things like ticket boards, better methodology for like approved posts and things like that. Basically things that will allow you to manage a larger segment of people in your company, not necessarily just technicians, but you're going to be bringing on admins. Inevitably, you're going to be bringing on salespeople. A lot of owners will start to transition off from, I have to fix all these tickets, to now I have all these people doing it for me. So I'm now playing that role of like an ops manager. So all of the tools needed to really manage the business are things that we'll definitely be focusing on as well. And you're starting to see some of that make its way into the platform. We just released our customer and ticket efficiency reports, and we've heard a lot of positive feedback from larger MSPs on those two specific things. So I would expect to see a lot more things like that as well.
Yeah. We got a question here. Hold on, I just had it and then it moved. It was a question about, can you see how much Syncro is billing you for Bitdefender? There is a report called Managed Antivirus License Usage Report, and you can open that up and it tells you exactly what is on every single asset and totals.
Sorry, this is some junk data again, but basically, yeah, even if you have multiple AVs deployed, it will show all that for you. So this is just in the report section here under this one here. Yep, so that should be there for you now. Got a Facebook user, Mike at United PC. Thank you for putting your name in there, Mike. There is currently no active way to archive assets. Can we have an archive option for assets? So yeah, Mike, I'm all over this one. This one bugs me too. I'll tell you what I was thinking, and if you guys actually want to throw in some feature requests in the community forums, that'd be helpful as well. But the thought of what I'm thinking is basically, right now when you delete an asset, it basically goes off and uninstalls it, removes it from our platform. This would still be doing that, but what it would do is it would make a custom asset type which basically would be a read-only version of that. And this would be linked to all of the tickets, all of the contacts, but you can't run scripts against it. It has no monitoring, anything like that. So that's something that we're looking at. I totally understand the need, and we allow you to archive customers today, but not assets. So I totally understand that causes some pain for folks today. Let's see what else we got here. Joseph is saying, I'd love to see the ability to automate billing for Acronis backup via Syncro invoicing. Any plans to incorporate this or ideas for scripts to report on usage that could be invoiced? Yes, 100%. So the next thing, as far as Acronis is concerned, that we want to tackle internally is deployments right from policies, where you just be able to say, yeah, I want Acronis on these assets, and it'll go ahead and deploy. So we'll basically take it out of scripting. And then this would certainly be a close second. And it would be similar to what we did with Syncro backups, where you can bill any way you want. We're just pulling in the data, and it will be bill by asset, bill by usage, as far as cloud storages goes. Hybrids, having a certain quantity that you provide as part of your contract, and they pay X over that, those types of things. There is right now, Joseph, if you go in your Acronis instance, their reports are actually very, very good. And you can pull usage reports by customer right now. So if you are having to do that manually, definitely makes that a lot easier for sure.
Got one here. In regards to doing a show and tell of the Syncro API. I think if you want to elaborate a little bit, for context, I show the API to people like almost every day. So if you tell me a little bit more about what you're imagining there, I could probably answer that question.
Artie's asking, do we get alerts or notifications when tickets go stale, like more than a week old and so on? You can. That's basically ticket automation. So here, let me, if you want to grab the next one, I'll go ahead and share my screen, and I'll get this up for you guys.
Sure.
All right, so this is like a new ticket automation, and you basically would say, let's see, not updated in hours, and whatever this could be. If you want it to be a week, just 7 times 24, whatever you want that to be. And then down here, you could actually have it email a custom address or email the ticket assignee. You can have it update the ticket. You can have it do whatever you want, basically, when that's not done. So you can definitely do this. And then a lot of people do this externally as well. So instead of just notifying you all internally, a lot of times you can have an automation that's like, hey, after 48 hours of no customer response, go ahead and notify the customer that we haven't heard from them, send them another one at 72. And then maybe at 96 hours, you can let the customer know, hey, we haven't heard back, we're closing your ticket. If it's still a problem, go ahead and open a new one. So you can do all of that with ticket automations.
I can take the next one. We've got a question here saying there's no current way to back up credentials or ticket worksheets, including in the API. Is this going to be fixed? There are a lot of things that are not in the API. So I actually have an ongoing list of requests for things to be added there. We're not going to add everything, mostly for security reasons. But there are quite a few things we are totally happy to add. It's just more a matter of prioritization. So I know there are quite a few things already. If you want to email me, ian@syncromsp.com, with a list of what you'd like to see added to the API, I'd be happy to look at that and add stuff to the list for consideration. And we're trying to add stuff pretty soon. So
Nick's asking for a brief rundown on how to do monthly block hours with a customer. He's saying, for example, we have a client that has a contract that includes 6 hours of support, but we want to bill anything over that to be billed at a standard rate. I know it's possible, but I've struggled doing it. So yeah, we do have a KB article on that. But here, let me share my screen again. Basically, what you're going to do is you would create this prepay product line item. And once you have that, you'll see this show up here, prepay hours. And you can manually set this, or you can have it set in an automated way. And this will basically be a countdown. And once this expires, you can bill at a normal rate. So the two things you would do is in contracts, you'd set up a contract for your customer. Here's a block hour one. And you would basically, over here, you can set your contract pricing. You can also set overrides. So as an example, our contract labor might be $150 an hour. Normally on block hour contracts, they're paying you, like you said, for 6 hours at whatever rate. It's usually a discount. And then if they go over that, normally that's at a discounted rate as well. So I'm going to say, okay, you're going to get billed at $100 over that instead of 150. And then what will happen is when you open up tickets, it will start decrementing off of this first. So you just set yours to 6 in your example. Once that hits 0, the next time you go ahead and do a service for them, it will go ahead and it will charge them that $100 an hour rate. And then on your recurring invoices, here's how you refresh that, which is actually pretty cool. Let me just throw this one up here. So you can say this here, which is, if we always did this in my MSP, at the end of the month, if you don't want those hours to roll over, you can go ahead and just say clear them. So if they don't use them, they will expire, and then you'll bill them as a line item for another set. So I don't know if I actually have a line item on here, but it should be prepay hours. Of course, live demo, so it's not coming up. But normally you'd put your prepay hours in here and you'd say 6. And what this will do is, as part of your recurring invoice, it will go ahead and repopulate those 6 hours into prepay. And that's how you can kind of do it on a perpetual cycle. So once this is set up, just if you have billable invoices for them, then you know you went over. So it is pretty simple once you get that set up.
Exactly. We got a question here. What are the concerns about bringing real-time monitoring of system performance to the agent page? We'd like to be able to see historical data of processor memory usage. There's no real concerns. It's more that Syncro Live is a completely different application than the normal web app. So it's not as simple as just copying and pasting it over there. That's more the issue. It would be like, it'd be like building an integration.
Yeah.
So
this one's probably for you, Ian. Do you have any plans for a Quotewerks integration?
So I talked recently to someone who resells Quotewerks, and they also build Quotewerks integrations. They need some beta users. They basically told me that they would build a Quotewerks Syncro integration if they got, I don't remember if it was 10 beta users or something like that. If you want to email me, I can introduce you to them. They just want to have enough people that they could build and test it. So there is someone who's willing to build it. We just need to get enough of a group together so that they would do it.
Michael from Facebook is saying, if I change the price for a managed service that is part of recurring billing, do I need to go to each and every customer and update the recurring invoice with the new price, or is there a way to push it? No, that would totally suck. So there's definitely an easy way to do that. On your recurring invoice, which is what we're in here, there's this option right here, and this will keep your prices in sync. So if you go into any product, managed services or otherwise, and you change the price of it at the product level, it will go ahead and apply to every single invoice that has this checked and obviously has the item added as a line item. So yeah, for sure, that's a good question. Fauzi is asking, he's having issues with Windows updates, saying it shows there's no updates, but when you go to machines, it shows there's a ton of updates from Microsoft. Fauzi, I'd open a ticket with support. The only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head is that if you tell in our policies, you're able to block updates, you're able to defer updates, meaning you can say, I don't want this category of updates to apply until 2 weeks after whatever your time period is. So if Microsoft bombs an update, it didn't get deployed, you have this 2-week buffer period or whatever you want. So the only time you should ever see a variance is if you have a setting where it's like, we expect this update not to be installed because I blocked it, or it's in a deferment period, meaning it's sitting there waiting to install, but we're not going to trip that install until that period happens. That would be expected. If you're seeing other behavior, definitely open a ticket with support. Not a known issue, but maybe there's something going on with your account specifically.
On a similar note, Josh is asking, what is the typical wait time for the BAA countersigned by Syncro? It shouldn't be long. If you're not hearing back, I would email billing@syncromsp.com and or submit a ticket, and we can get that taken care of.
Somebody's asking, this is a little bit complicated, but we have an option that a lot of folks don't know about in our recurring invoicing. And what it does is it will allow you to bring in every single ticket. In fact, here, I'll just show it to you. This option right here, any ticket that has a pending ticket charge, and you can even say, I only want to do it for resolve tickets or whatever type of ticket you want. And it will bring them all onto the recurring invoice. And so if you want to bill people weekly, you want to bill them monthly, whatever it is, you don't have to like individually invoice every single ticket. This will pick it all up for you and automatically do it. So this person on Facebook saying, hey, is there a way to do this in conjunction with what we just showed for block hours, how we can reset their block hours? What I would recommend in that instance is not to do it at once. I would have 2 recurring invoices. I'd probably have one that fires on the last day of the month that goes ahead and it picks up all their ticket charges, goes ahead and it bills them out for that. And then the following day, first thing, I would have it do the recurring invoice, which basically bills them their recurring monthly fee. And I would do it that way. There probably is a way to merge that together, but that sounds like a lot. And at worst, I think it would confuse the customer even. So I'd probably break that up into 2 separate invoices that are probably run back to back.
When did we add that little drop down under that? I don't remember adding that.
Yeah, we
The ticket status thing.
Yeah, we had a lot of folks saying, hey, like we keep tickets open, that we have things waiting for hardware that we're billing out for now. So we thought that's a great idea. So yeah, you can just set it by status now, which is super cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Security question, Ian. I know you can lock down users to the interface by IP, but we cannot do it with the primary admin plans for this.
So we're gonna solve this by enabling single sign-on through Office 365, G Suite, etc. So you'll be able to log into your Syncro account via Office 365, for example. Office 365 has the ability to lock down logins on their end by all kinds of things: country, IP address. You could add a VPN, etc. So you could add all kinds of security measures on the Office 365 side, which then would apply to logging into Syncro. And so as opposed to us spending probably the same amount of time just to add IP allow lists, you would get all the security functionality with Office, for example. So that's how we're going to solve that. Yeah.
James is asking, is there a way from the ticket in the relevant assets section to add third-party remote access? We use Splashtop Business and only the native Splashtop and Syncro background is available. Yes, James, that's actually a dumb oversight. So basically, if you have any BYO stuff for remote access there, you can see it on the asset record. You can see it in asset list. It just wasn't moved over to when you have assets linked directly to a ticket. So yep, that is something that I don't have an ETA for you, but I would expect to see that sometime here in the near future. That's definitely something that we need to add. Yeah, totally agree with you. Anonymous is saying, hey, to jump on the question with the direct report, in the customer settings, does the additional notification email address field email all the tickets back and forth? Or is it just like adding that address to the autoresponder? Basically, any email that ever goes out of Syncro, if you have an additional notification email address on there, it would be added to that. We would definitely suggest you use the direct report because it's very specific scenarios where somebody would want to be overseeing every single communication coming out of Syncro. So that's there for specific circumstances. So I definitely stick to the direct report option for that.
We have all kinds of good questions in here. I got a question. Is there an ETA for the IT glue adding, I'm assuming integration, adding the Australian server for the integration? I think that's on their side. I haven't even heard about that. So that's not really something we can influence. I haven't heard anything.
Any update on the Mac OS agent release? We've run into issues with Splashtop and scripts. There aren't any known issues with remote access or scripting, so I would definitely open a ticket if you haven't already. As of today, there's no option for the backgrounding tools that you were asking, so that is not present like it is in Windows. But as far as our remote access stuff goes, I do totally get Macs are a pain in general. So adding the correct permissions for Syncro, adding the correct permissions for Splashtop is a manual affair if you're outside of an MDM. But yeah, as far as scripting goes and running Splashtop, once you've got those permissions enabled, shouldn't be any issues there. So definitely reach out to support if you haven't already.
I want to scroll back here to a question from Jacob. We have been asking for quite a bit to be able to get a ticket was created email to be modified to actually show us important information, etc. Yeah, I think that's valid. Yeah, that's valid. It's a feature request. I would submit the feature request and would try to get stuff like this prioritized. That to me sounds like an opportunity for a delighter type thing, Andy.
Sure.
Seems small, changing a HTML template, but there are thousands of these. So
yeah, and in that light too, we're also looking to at some point to allow the subjects of those to change as well. We've definitely had a lot of folks asking about that for those templates as well. So yeah, definitely something being looked at. Facebook users saying, are there any plans for automation to run real time? Currently, we don't use some automations because they're not useful if they run 15 minutes later. I will answer it like this. Yes, there is things we would like to do there to speed it up. At the same time, I don't know exactly where that would fit within a timeline. I know things like ticket boards are probably going to be a higher priority than real-time ticket automations, but yeah, we do recognize that there's definitely things that almost like workflow automation that you change a status and you need X to happen immediately. We definitely recognize that as something that folks need. Let's see. Another Facebook user saying, can we bulk enable keep pricing? Well, everybody likes that bulk enable thing after we show that in for the pending ticket charges. They're asking if they can do that in bulk. There's not a way to bulk edit recurring invoices, and that's by design. That's normally like your core contract base. So it is a one-off thing. So you would have to go in each one and choose to keep it in sync. But from that point forward, you can just turn it on when you create new recurring invoices. Somebody asking about when can they get some Syncro swag?
Wait, hold on. Let's go back. I think there is a way to do that.
For recurring invoices?
Yeah, here. So you can select multiple, go bulk actions, and then yes.
Wow, when did we add that? Because I didn't even
I don't know. I don't know.
So yes, actually we can.
And you can do add pending ticket charges, but interestingly enough, this doesn't have that status thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway.
But yeah, on the keeping prices in sync. So yes, you can. So I was wrong on that. So yeah, I'm glad that you found that.
The product is so big that we often find out.
Somebody's asking about when can they get some Syncro swag. Yeah, so it's interesting. We actually internally we have this new store for Syncro swag. We did some new branding and stuff. I don't know when that is, but that's something I'm definitely pushing for too. We've had that question come up quite frequently, especially around Syncro mugs. People love those Syncro mugs, so we're trying to figure out a way to make that happen for sure.
I actually asked for budget specifically for 2023 so that I could just send people mugs randomly.
That's awesome.
It's a true story. It happened last week.
I can't tell you how many times people are trying to bribe us for mugs. I don't know what it is about these mugs, but they're like gold apparently. They're serious value to these. Cole's asking, is there any ETA on rich text? Yes, we are looking to bring that into early access as soon as November 15th. I don't have a full accounting of when that's going to be going live, but I wouldn't suspect that it'll be in early access very long. But yep, that is something that's right around the corner for sure.
We got a question here from Fauzi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Any integrations coming up, Wave accounting, Axiom, Password Boss, etc. there are a bunch of integrations that are in progress. I don't have a complete list, but there are a bunch, mostly other companies building toward our API. Wave accounting, I don't think so. And I haven't talked to Axient, but I would love to know what you would want a password boss integration to do. So if you want to email me at ian@syncromsp.com, I'd love to just tell me exactly how you'd want it to work and all of that. We'd love to support a password management tool. So yeah, let me know.
Couple of ticket questions here. James saying, hey, when we use the ticket timer, any idea is there any plans to change it so you can basically add a note before you hit start or while it's running? Actually, that's a really good question, and we've heard that feedback quite a bit. So yeah, there is some updates we're looking to add there around physically using the ticket timer, not necessarily adding time as you add a comment. And one of those things would be adding like an aggregation of notes. So if you're working on something with like an hour-long timer, you can just start documenting stuff as you're doing it, and that would make its way into one, unified ticket comment. So definitely something we're looking at. Yep. And
Got a question here from Elliot saying he emailed me about joining early access and I didn't respond. If that's true, then it probably either went into spam or because I responded to over, well, many tens of people. So you just email me again or ping me on that thread and I'll respond.
Josh is asking, is there any plans to search ticket contents? There is. It's not something that's going to happen like tomorrow. And I will say that that if we did that, that would be something that would be dedicated to the ticket page. So right now we have like the search stuff at the top, and that definitely slows down when you add ticket comments in there significantly. So we would definitely be adding it to the ticket index page, so it's exclusive to that. But yeah, don't have any ETA, but it is something else that's being looked at for sure.
For context there, it's a tremendous amount of data, millions and millions of tickets, and also lots of text within those tickets. And until we complete the AWS, the Heroku to AWS migration, which is going to be complete soon, we're not even going to try to do that until we complete it, because it's super database intensive to do that kind of search. So ask us again once we've completed that migration. We have been hearing, though, lots of people want that. So we know it's just a matter of like, it's not viable at the moment.
Steven's asking, is there any plans for bulk editing custom fields? As of today, there is not. That's a very good question. It's something I would definitely support. So we're talking about bulk updating customer custom fields, asset custom fields. Yeah, you'd have to be able to do it within the confines of the asset type you're talking about. So if you have stuff in different asset types, obviously you couldn't bulk update those. But yeah, that's something that we should definitely look at too, because I do understand if you're especially for like CRM style stuff, if you're trying to tag a lot of customers with certain things to segment them and market to them, when you roll something out new there, it is a pain to have to do that individually. So definitely see that as being a good value add. That's a good question.
Got a question here from John about a rough ETA on the single sign-on that I mentioned with Office, G Suite, etc. Where there are many ways to implement that, and because it is a security feature, we really want to make sure we're doing it properly. So right now we're in an investigation phase on that, but we plan to do that in the first half of 2023. So that's when we're going to like do the actual work.
Mike at United PC, you're blowing up the awesome questions here, Mike, on Facebook. In ticket timer rounding, is there any way to have increments of half an hour, but a minimum of an hour? Yeah, so, well, sorry, I said yes. The answer is no, as of right now. There is something that we actually have in the works. Again, don't have an ETA for you, but it's specifically designed for exactly what you're talking about. So you'll be able to take any of your labor types. So I'm talking about contract work or after hours work or residential work, whatever it is. And you'll be able to actually say within that, here are the minimum charges. So the minimum charges would be exactly what you're talking about. I bill a minimum of 1 hour. So if I go on site, I spend 15 minutes, I log 15 minutes, it's getting rounded up to an hour. That's part one of that. And then part two of that is beyond the minimum, how do you want to charge? And that would be the increments of a half an hour like you're talking about. So it would be if I did an hour and 15 minutes, I'm really billing for an hour and a half. If I billed for 30 minutes, it's really rounding it up to 1 hour. So that's definitely something in the works. And yeah, totally understand the need. That's a great question. Another question about where can we find a complete list of available template tags for the Syncro platform? Typically in whatever area you're working that allows for template tags, it should be off to the right. And some of the tags aren't relevant to certain areas, but like if you're doing mailer templates as an example, you should be able to see all of the tags right within that section itself. If you notice any that aren't there and should be, let us know about that.
Got a question here from Cole about initiating report downloads via the API. The way that I would do that right now, most people, when they use the API, they're pulling the raw data and building their own things. Theoretically, we could make reports accessible via the API, but they're not currently. What I would do right now is you can schedule the reports to be sent to you on a regular basis already, and they're just attached in an email. You can send that to Zapier, for example, and have the email like in Zapier. You can receive an email, you can manipulate it, you can send that file somewhere. So you can kind of already do that if you use some middleware to catch the email and then forward the attachment or whatever.
Roger from Facebook is asking, can you include a hyperlink in a ticket comment? You can. I think what I would say is we've got rich text, which is going to be rolled out. Again, I don't have an exact time frame, but it's supposed to go into early access as soon as next week. And that'll have full HTML support, so you'll be able to add whatever you want in there. So yeah, but if you just want to throw a hyperlink in there now, you should be able to do that.
We got a question here from Jacob. This is maybe a tough thing to hear, but like he's asking, why is it submit a feature request every time? Seems like you don't care about core functionality. I need to be able to assign a contact to a ticket in the app while in the field so I can reply to them. Totally get it. Frankly, there are more feature requests than we can build. We are resource constrained like any company. And so we have to prioritize what we build based on how many people are asking for stuff. I will just say bluntly, the mobile app is bad. So we know we need to work on the mobile app. It's really a matter of resources and picking the things that are the most requested things from the largest array of customers so that when we're dedicating what we're working on, it's having the highest impact on your business. So when we see things that are, for example, requested by 100 people, that's not going to make the cut versus something that's requested by 1,000. And that's just the unfortunate truth, is that we can't get to everything. We are, I will say, for the mobile app, trying to figure out how we can have a dedicated swim lane for that in 2023 so that we can either make the existing web app responsive. So for all of the most important pages that people are using, they just work on mobile. You don't need a native app. You can just go to the website and it will just work on your phone or your tablet, etc. Or dramatically improving the mobile app. So we know that the reason why it's submit a feature request is because when we're triaging what to build on a regular basis based on feedback from folks, we have to look at the count of how many people requested that feature. And the more people that request the feature, the more intelligent our decision making can be on what we prioritize. So like we might have heard, for example, you need a new mobile app. Like I know that, but if you and 100 other people submit that feature request versus you saying like, well, I think they know that, I'm not going to submit a feature request. When we're looking at it on our side, like we won't have data then to go and say, well, that should be above this. So even though it seems silly, it is very helpful for our team if you submit every feature request that you have, even if you think we already know about it, because then we have a proper count of how many people are asking for what. And then the most important things get done.
Yeah, and I'll add to that really quick too. A lot of times there's something that is easy. And what we'll do is if we know, next quarter, we're going to be attacking a core part of the platform, like something specific in the PSA ticketing, whatever, a lot of times we'll queue those up, and that will be included as that part of work. So we're attacking that area of the platform all at the same time. So that's part of that process as well. I want to take a question from Rick. He's asking, on the invoice page, is there a way to default to unpaid invoices? I don't think there is today. However, I do want to add, we are looking at part of the UI UX overhaul is significantly improving how we handle saved views. And one of those things is going to be unifying saved views across all of these modules so that it's not just what you're filtering out from a given view, it's the columns, how you have them set up, what's shown, what's not shown, and being able to save and edit that in a way that makes sense, and then carrying it over to areas like invoices where you can say, this is the default view I want, because this is what I do every time I go into invoices. This is my job. So that's definitely an area of the platform, specifically with the UI UX work, that we're looking to improve for sure. Raul's asking, are there ways to save passwords securely on each customer portal? I actually don't know this one. Does the customer credentials, is there a section for that in the customer?
Yeah, I think with when you're using not the password vault, but when you're using credentials, I think those go on the portal.
Yeah, I think so.
It's been a while since I looked at that.
So yeah, you should be able to do that now. What else should we got here? Arthur's asking, Arthur, I may not totally understand this one, but you're saying any plans to have the ability to create additional device types for Syncro devices, which are the devices that we deploy with the Syncro agent. We're used to having laptop, desktop, physical server, etc. as device types. There should be a field that's being updated on every Syncro device, which does denote if it's a desktop, a physical server, virtual server, laptop, all that kind of stuff. And you should be able to filter from that. So it is the form factor. You're saying it's something we can't do based on the form factor. Can you explain why? Because that is exactly what that field is intended to do. So if you want to ask another question on that, I'd be happy to take that one on.
Question, is there a place specifically for feature requests and a list of open feature requests? In the community forums, there's a category called feature requests, and you can post there, and our product team looks at every single one. Another question, is there a way to have uninstall option for programs right on Syncro? So theoretically, yes. And the way that works in most RMMs that do have that is they take the uninstall string that is in the registry, which you also see in the control panel, and they just run that command. You only get the uninstall string from like 40% of applications or something. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's not every application. And there's not a great way to validate whether it actually worked. So it's theoretically possible. We haven't really done it, mostly because it won't completely solve the problem. Like you'll never be able to install 100% of applications right from Syncro. So yeah, I guess that's the caveat.
I got a question from Stephen. There are a few reports I can schedule to run, but there's some other reports that I'm not able to run. Do we have any plans on expanding that? Stephen, if you want to put in a feature request for the reports that you're not able to schedule, I'll look at that, especially if you do it today. Because most of them you should be able to schedule. If there's some that you need that don't, definitely let us know, and we'll look at getting those added. Craig's asking, is there any plans to add professional services around Syncro customization? We're a small shop and have a lot of small quality of life Syncro changes that we know are already doable, but we just need to find time and talent to make the changes, but we don't have time to build that out ourselves. There isn't plans now. Well, I'll say it this way. There is plans for some training type tools. There's not necessarily plans for like paid onboarding services or that type of thing, at least for today. That may change in the future. I would add that somewhere down the line, we're likely going to take another look at doing additional community libraries. So what you're seeing with the script library, Folks would have that with ticket automations, best practices with our automated remediation module. So I do think you get a lot of value out of that too, where it's, Syncro partners helping Syncro partners with that type of thing. Okay, follow up to Arthur's question, who was asking about different types for Syncro devices. He's saying he needs to do it because he wants custom fields based on the device type. So as an example, a server device type should be able to have additional custom fields to capture owner of the business, of the server, the disaster recovery plan, criticality, stuff like that. That's a super good point, Arthur. Please add that as a feature request. I totally support that in our community forums. That's a really, really good suggestion.
Yeah, there's a question here from James in the installed app report. He wants to be able to click the installs count link so you can see which assets 7-zip's installed on, for example, which is totally valid. I will say one thing you can do is you can go to the assets index page and you can do a saved search to and you can search based on missing application or installed application. It's not as, nice as just clicking the link in the report to go to the list of assets, but you can, you can do it.
All right, what else do we got? Jordan's asking, is there a way to restrict technicians from manually adding labor to add view charges? We've grown a custom internally to add it manually over the labor log, but we miss things that I can't run reports on manually added labor versus technicians using the labor log. There's not right now. Jordan, are you just saying that you're trying to have a flow where technicians only are adding time in a very specific way, and you don't want to manually going like after the fact, almost like, hey, I forgot it, and they're going into add view charges and doing it there? Ask another question and let me know if that's what you're after.
We've only got a minute or so left.
Yeah, go ahead and take another one. I'll prep this last thing here.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get all of them. VAT GST rollout for Australia. We're looking at rolling VAT enhanced VAT out to Australia and New Zealand. So we are looking at that, and that investigation, I believe, is happening in Q4.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. This is awesome for your questions. We're going to have to budget some extra time, I think, at the end of the next one, because we definitely didn't get to all of them. But I'm super glad that this program is back. I want to talk about one last thing really quick. Let's see. Can you see the slide up there, Ian?
Yep.
All right. So this is a program that I've wanted to roll out forever. For those of you that don't know, I owned a consulting company in a past life for about a decade. We worked in a lot of spaces, including this one. In fact, I met Ian and Syncro through that process. We spun up an offshoot of an MSP to learn more about the space, and that turned into a fairly profitable little side business. We grew it to about 12 people. It was $4.5 million of revenue. Went on to do paid consulting work with like 500 MSPs of all sizes. Long story short, we weren't techs by trade, which means we knew business from day one. That allowed us to break a lot of rules that we probably shouldn't have, but it worked well for us. It allowed us to turn a lot of the traditional thought leadership stuff on its head. And as many of you know, I spend a lot of my time engaging with you all directly, talking about your businesses and ways to improve Syncro, things like that. And the problem is, as Syncro continues to grow and I engage with more and more MSPs every day, it's becoming a lot to respond in the way that I really want to respond to all of you. So this is my answer to trying to scale that process much larger than it is today. And here's how that's going to work. This email address here, askandy@syncromsp.com. Send me whatever questions you have. These should be scoped to the business of running an MSP. Things like, how should I structure my pricing and packaging? How much should I negotiate my contracts? When should I start bringing on salespeople? Do I need an admin, or will I ever need an admin? Things like that. It's not really meant to be, how do I do X, Y, Z in Syncro specifically? I'm going to take one of those questions and I'm going to provide a very detailed response that we're going to spin up in a blog article, typically like a week after every one of these Ask Us Anything sessions. This is going to be an ongoing program, and then we're going to link that article to a new Ask Andy community forum category that I'll be spinning up to coincide with the launch of the first blog article. So this is where you're going to be able to engage with me directly on my answers to these questions. It's also where I hope you'll all engage with each other on the concepts that we're going to be talking about and the questions that I'm going to be answering. So at the end of the day, I'm really working toward a single goal, and that's just ensuring that Syncro MSPs are the most profitable MSPs on the planet. So as soon as we're done here, please start sending over those questions. I'm really, really eager to start this program and get it going. And then, like Ian said, we will post in the various communities as soon as we've got the next one scheduled. It should be either later today or tomorrow, I think, at the latest. Yeah, and then it should be within a few weeks from today. So again, really looking forward to getting this thing going again. It's been too long.
Yeah, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry if we didn't get to your question. We'll there's just a lot.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.